Grease is the word, and in 1978 the whole world knew it, when this greatly cherished and celebrated movie came out, which is an exploration and celebration of the 1950s, shown through the lens of high school teenagers. It tells the story of 20-something-year-old teenagers Danny and Sandy, played with great joy and appeal by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, who are reunited at Rydell High after enjoying a summer romance. However, Danny is a greaser and is part of a gang called the T-Birds, and Sandy is more prim and proper, and realizes that maybe she's not a fan of his rough-around-the-edges antics. The question is, as they learn more about each other, can they put aside their differences and continue their summer lovin'? Or will the Rydell social class structure of T-Birds and Pink Ladies get in the way of their teenage romance? In this fun and feel-good movie, which features many memorable characters and standout musical numbers, and generally seems to take viewers to a more happier and innocent place. Seriously, has anyone else noticed just how happy and joyful this movie is? But more importantly, why is this student walking around with a book on her head? Hi, I'm Minty, and I'm only 17 years old. What, you don't believe me? Yeah, well try telling that to the cast of Grease. So today, I wanted to celebrate the life of Olivia Newton-John by exploring 10 things that you didn't know about Grease, the movie that made us all fall in love with her. So let's sit back as we try to question, why do some of the kids of Rydell High look like they're in their mid-30s, as we check it out. Number 10, based on a musical stage show. Okay, it goes without saying that the Grease movie is indeed based on a Grease musical stage show, but there are actually tons of differences between the movie and the original stage show that it's based on. Firstly, the show was created by songwriters Jim Jacobs and Warren Casey in 1971, and the show was based on Jacobs' real-life 1950s high school experiences, attending William Howard Taft High School in Chicago. The first production of the musical took place in theaters in Chicago, until some producers saw the show and offered to make it an off-Broadway production, where things really took off for the stage musical in 1972. Unlike the movie, which although does feature some innuendo, the show it seems was way raunchier than the eventual movie, with it being described as aggressive, raw, and even vulgar. So yeah, about those changes. Well, in the movie, the events take place in a suburban setting, with the movie being filmed in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and Venice, California, whereas the original stage show took place in the city of Chicago. The start of the story in the stage show is set at the time that the show was made in, the early 70s, namely at a high school reunion at Rydell High, where the character Eugene is hosting the reunion, where he talks about the characters of Grease, where the rest of the show is a flashback, which is actually being told by the Eugene character. So it's actually kind of his story. Originally, the T-Birds weren't even the T-Birds, but the Burger Place Boys. Yeah, it just rolls off the tongue. A lot of the supporting characters actually have way more development in the show. The scene where Danny and Sandy go to the school dance was completely different, as in the show, Danny actually takes Rizzo, and Sandy stays at home singing a song called Raining on Prom Night. And the epic Thunder Road car race scene at the end of the movie was never in the stage show because, well, how can you have a high-speed car race on stage? When the show went to Broadway, Barry Bostwick played Danny, who also played Brad in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Sandy was played by actress Carol Demas. And as time went on, various other would-be well-known faces played a variety of roles in the stage show, including Jeff Conaway as Danny, who would go on to play Kenickie in the film, as well as Richard Gere as Danny, although some claim that he also played Sonny too at some stage, Patrick Swayze also as Danny, and John Travolta even starred in the original stage show, but not as Danny, but as the more comical character of Doody. There are actually many differences between the original Grease stage show and the movie. It is insane. It could probably even be its own episode. Number 9. Grease could have been an adult animated movie. Movies based on stage musicals were a big deal in the 70s, especially in the mid to late 70s, where after the Rocky Horror Picture Show, they were more frequent, what with the likes of The Wiz and Hair. So it seemed only a matter of time till someone would want to make a theatrical version of Grease, although we nearly could have gotten an entirely different version to the one we ended up with, as according to the stage show's co-creator Jim Jacobs, animator Ralph Bakshi approached him with the idea of doing a rude and raunchy X-rated version of Grease as an animated movie. Bakshi actually made quite a few naughty, adults-only animated movies, including Fritz the Cat, and later on Cool World. However, this down and dirty animated Grease movie never came to be, as screen and stage manager and movie producer Alan Carr got the rights to Grease, as he had seen the Grease stage show in the early 70s and fell in love with it, and had a vision of it becoming a theatrical movie, and so the production of the movie as we know it took off from there. However, the movie's title sequence did use animation, as the producers actually did like the idea of an animated Grease, and wanted to use animation but to a smaller degree. The animation was provided by English animator John David Wilson, along with his company Fine Arts Films. Wilson had also previously worked on the animation for several Disney movies, including Peter Pan and Lady and the Tramp. Number 8. Casting possibilities. So the big question is, who could be the faces of the Grease characters on the big screen? Well, Henry Winkler was originally offered the part of Danny Zuko, due to playing the character Fonzie in Happy Days, which was a popular sitcom at that time. He supposedly turned the part down as he didn't want to get typecast as a greaser, as like the Danny character, Fonzie is also a 1950s greaser. Although he regretted the move, he would later say that he made the right decision, as Travolta is perfect in the part. The daughter of Lucille Ball, Lucy Arnaz, originally auditioned to play Rizzo, but producer Alan Carr cast actress Stockard Channing in the part, as she was a client of his. And at the time of filming, she was 33 years old, making her the oldest in the cast of high school students. And if you can believe it, Elvis Presley was offered the role of the angel who visits Frenchie and sings Beauty School Dropout, but he turned it down. So instead, Frankie Avalon was cast, as in the late 50s and early 60s, he was something of a teen heartthrob, having released many popular songs and starred in several teen movies. Elvis was, however, referenced in the song Look at Me, I'm Sandra Dee, and in a very eerie twist of events, Elvis died the day that song was recorded. Director Randall Kleiser said that after recording the song, it was all over the news that Elvis had died, and having just referenced him in the song, the cast and crew all felt really creeped out by it. Despite the many casting ideas, all was not well with Grease, as the production was going nowhere. If only there was a popular disco movie that could have sorted things out. Number 7. Saturday Night Fever saved the day. Alan Carr, who as mentioned, brought the rights to Grease with the intention to make a theatrical movie, but he was having a tough time during the early days of production, as he was pitching his plans to make a movie of Grease, but pretty much every movie studio that he approached turned him down, and weren't really interested. Now this is where fellow producer Robert Stickwood comes in. Stickwood had previously worked on the stage shows for Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar, and more importantly at that time he had just produced the disco extravaganza movie Saturday Night Fever, which was hugely successful and was a high earner for Paramount Pictures. Stickwood also wanted to make a movie version of Grease, and thought that if he could get John Travolta, who starred in Saturday Night Fever, on board for Grease, then that would really help the production to take off and give it clout, thanks to the popularity of Saturday Night Fever. What helps is that Stickwood had a 3-picture deal with Travolta, and so with Saturday Night Fever being the first movie in the deal, Grease could be the second movie, and Travolta agreed, and so he signed on to play Danny. Stickwood approached Alan Carr offering to buy the rights, but instead they would join forces and act as co-producers, with Paramount Pictures backing the production. Travolta even helped with the movie's production, like recommending several cast members, including the casting of Jeff Conaway as Kaneki and Kelly Ward as Putsy. And Travolta even suggested the movie's director, Randall Kleiser, as he had previously directed Travolta in a made-for-TV movie called The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. And after directing Grease, Kleiser would go on to direct some of my favourite childhood movies, funny enough, including Flight of the Navigator, Big Top Pee-wee, and Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Number 6. Olivia Newton-John was apprehensive to star in Grease. At the time of casting, Australian singer Olivia Newton-John was offered to play the role of Sandy, as she was also a client of producer Alan Carr. At the time, she was a successful pop and country singer who had already won several Grammys. She had also previously had very few acting performances, having previously starred in a 1965 musical called A Funny Thing Happened Down Under and a science fiction called Tomorrow in 1970. So at that time, she hadn't starred in a movie for 8 years, and frankly, she didn't really need to, as she was a prominent musical artist. However, when she was offered the role of Sandy, she didn't jump straight into the part. She had reservations, as she didn't entirely feel comfortable playing a high school student at the age of 29. So before she took the part, she requested to do a screen test, to see if she could do it, where a screen test was done for the drive-in scene. And I guess it worked and she took on the role. Originally in the stage show, Sandy wasn't Australian, and Olivia Newton-John tried to do an American accent but really struggled to do it, where it was decided to keep her Australian voice, where the character was rewritten as being Australian. And of course, she does have amazing chemistry with John Travolta, and it's that chemistry that really makes Grease what it is. Travolta even supposedly said that he didn't want anyone else in the part but Olivia Newton-John. Now imagine if the movie was made with two leads who you could tell didn't really like each other and were just acting and just didn't have that chemistry. It's the duet of Travolta and John that makes Grease so successful. And both John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John remained good friends ever since. Yes, they really struck gold with the casting of Grease. The entire cast for that matter. Speaking of the cast, in some scenes of Grease you can see a very young Michael Biehn, who, as any pop cultural nerd would know, would go on to play Kyle Reese in The Terminator and Hicks in Aliens, as well as other memorable roles. Well, before he took on deadly androids and aliens, he was attending Rydell High. Number 5. John Travolta wasn't meant to sing Greased Lightning. A standout musical number in Grease is the song Greased Lightning, a rocking number that is brilliantly filmed and is super cool, and what adds to the level of cool is Travolta's vocals and lead that he takes while filming the scene, creating lots of momentum. However, Greased Lightning was originally Kenicki's song, as it was the character who performed the song on the musical stage show, and thus actor Jeff Conaway was set to sing and perform this number. However, there are also claims that at one stage the production was actually thinking about getting the band The Beach Boys to show up in the movie and perform Greased Lightning. Now, I have no idea how that would have worked. Would the T-Birds have been in the high school garage looking at Kenicki's car, with the Beach Boys randomly turning up and breaking into song? Now that would have been weird. Why would the Beach Boys even be in a high school garage? However, during the production, Travolta felt that the song had clout and would be a memorable moment in the movie, and so he suggested that he should sing and perform the song, and due to him being the big star that he was at the time, his wish was granted. I think narratively it makes sense for the Danny character to take the lead and sing Greased Lightning, with the other T-Birds backing him, as after all, I always got the feeling that he was kind of the leader of the gang, or at least the one who called the shots, so it totally works. And every time I'm at a party or a night spot venue and Greased Lightning comes on, pretty much everyone just rushes to the dance floor and start dancing their asses off, as well as singing along to the song. So it's a song that has, and still does, bring with it lots of joy to people. Number 4. Deleted scenes. There are actually quite a few deleted scenes that were removed from the final film. Nothing really of any importance, just the odd extra line here and there that was trimmed out, probably due to time and pacing reasons. And yeah, I actually understand a lot of these brief moments getting cut out, as these scenes aren't really of any importance. The scenes now survive as black and white rough cuts, and the funny thing is that in this format, the picture actually does look like a movie from the 1950s. Two of these cut scenes that stand out to me is one that involves Eugene, where Sonny puts a dirty smear on his white shoe, to which Eugene uses correction fluid to get rid of the stain. And this other shot where two random guys start fighting at the dance. Who are they? Why are they fighting? I have no idea, it's just random. However, the most infamous of the deleted scenes wasn't even meant to be a deleted scene. It was the last shot of the movie where Danny and Sandy fly into the sky. The movie was to actually end with Danny and Sandy sharing a kiss before the credits appear, but the scene was actually cut accidentally thanks to an editing error. So technically the ending we got for Grease wasn't the intended ending, and that the actual ending was actually cut short, not giving us the movie's true finale. Many years later down the track, for one of the movie's anniversary releases, director Rydell High found the footage, but like the rest of the deleted scenes, it was in black and white. And he tried to colorize the footage and insert it back into the movie, finally showing Grease's ending the way that it was intended to be seen. But it was felt that the final colorized product just didn't look right, so the idea was scrapped. But I think that by now, we're all used to the Grease ending that we got, and it's now become iconic. So I think sometimes it's best to not George Lucas movies and just leave them the way that they are. Number 3. Several songs were created specifically for the movie. Given that Grease is based on a stage show and that most of the stage show is just musical numbers, there were several songs that didn't make it into the movie. In fact, in an attempt to cram more songs from the musical show into the movie, many of these songs can be heard during the grandstand dance scene. In addition to that, several songs heard in the movie weren't actually from the stage show and were written specifically for the film. These include the title song Grease, as well as Hopelessly Devoted to You, and the final showstopper, You're the One That I Want. When it came to the movie's title song Grease, director Rydell High originally wanted musicians Charles Fox and Paul Williams to create the movie's theme. But the producers Alan Carr and Robert Stigwood went with Bee Gees member Barry Gibb, as he had previously recorded several hit songs for Stigwood's previous movie Saturday Night Fever, which had become a best-selling album. Gibb wrote the song and did background vocals, but the lead singer was Frankie Valli, who with his Four Seasons group had made many memorable pop songs in the era that Grease is set in, like Big Girls Don't Cry and Walk Like a Man. The Hopelessly Devoted to You song was actually a late addition in the production. Originally, it wasn't even written into the film, but it had to be recorded and shot after the rest of the movie had been filmed, as Olivia Newton-John's contract stipulated that she had to sing a solo number, which the production were apparently hesitant to do. The song actually became a massive hit and made it to number 3 on the Billboard charts, as well as receiving an Oscar nomination. And Hopelessly Devoted to You wasn't the only song the production was hesitant to add to the movie, as Alan Carr supposedly didn't want Rizzo's song There Are Worse Things I Could Do, and that Stockard Channing had to really fight for it. Finally, You're the One That I Want was also a massive hit, and its single sold over 4 million copies, and is still considered one of the best-selling singles of all time. You're the One That I Want and Hopelessly Devoted to You was written by Australian music producer John Farrar, who was also the overall producer of the soundtrack to Grease, and he had been making songs with Olivia Newton-John since 1971, and would do so all the way till 1989. Number 2. Awkward Coca-Cola censoring. During the movie's post-production, certain edits had to be made, including blurring out Coca-Cola advertisements that could be seen in the background of the diner scene. This is because when Grease went into production, Paramount had done a deal with Coca-Cola's competitor Pepsi to do some production placement in Grease, where in the movie's intro you can see a Pepsi logo. And it was felt that Pepsi may not be happy to see advertisements for Coca-Cola within the movie. So director Rydell High was given an option to either reshoot the scene without the advertisements in the background or to just edit out the Coke advertisements. Although there are also some claims that Grease's production had originally done a deal with Coke, but the deal didn't go through. Either way, rather than getting all the actors back to reshoot the scenes, it was decided to just blur out the Coca-Cola pictures. Problem solved. Yep, now the scene was just left with an awkward, blurry, fuzzy image in the background. Because we can't have people leaving the theatre and drinking Coke. They have to drink Pepsi, damn it. However, thankfully in later releases of Grease, the awkward blurry effect was removed from the movie, where the original Coke adverts can be seen in all their Coke glory. Coke, Pepsi, Pepsi, Coke, what's the difference? They're both going to give you bad teeth. Speaking of quirks associated with the release of Grease, in Argentina, Grease was renamed to Vaseline. Through sources I've looked into, it's popular belief that this is due to the title getting lost in translation. But, either way, Vaseline. Number 1. Grease is the word at the box office. Grease was released in June 1978 and it was an immediate box office hit. Although it was originally released in the number 2 spot behind Jaws 2, in the following weeks it really annihilated the box office numbers, and at that time became Paramount Pictures' second highest grossing movie after The Godfather. It would go on to make over $366 million on its $6 million budget, so for its time, Grease was big business. It also got very positive reviews from critics, who found the movie to be lots of fun and an entertaining trip down memory lane full of 1950s nostalgia. The musical numbers were also praised and considered showstoppers. There were, however, a few negative criticisms though. A review in the Washington Post said that they had never seen an uglier large-scale musical, and the LA Times also found it to be an unattractive movie, feeling that it's a 1950s presented in, quote, grotesquely distorting 1970s consciousness. And Newsweek just found the movie to be mediocre. But other than that, in general, the reviews were positive. And Grease as a movie would go on to get several re-releases over the decades, and is now largely considered a classic, as well as one of the greatest musicals of all time, and it often makes it to lists of greatest movies of all time in general. It is a treasured classic that many seem to love and often go back to. People tend to say that it takes them back to their childhoods, from when they first watched it, and that the movie takes them back to a more innocent, happy time in life, which I guess is very appealing, considering the complicated modern world. It is just a nice, feel-good movie about a simple love story of two high school students with different backgrounds and different positions within their social placing, and with both having to compromise in order to understand each other's world a bit more, which strengthens their romance. To me, it's just a fun movie and looks really cool and has some really rocking tunes. It's a celebration of joy, music, and happiness and youth, and is a wonderful exploration of idyllic 1950s Americana. And it's a movie that reminds us all that Grease is the word. I think we're all going to miss Olivia Newton-John. She's given us so much joy for over 6 decades now, and I always felt that there was something really sweet and loving and pure about her. And with that, I say, rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John. Thank you for all the love and the entertainment that you've given the world, as well as becoming a Hollywood icon at a time when it was actually quite rare for Australians to become Hollywood icons. She will, without a doubt, be greatly missed. Anyway, I'm Minty, and seriously, they must be putting something in the water at Rydell High that makes all those kids look like they're in their 20s and 30s. See ya!